Hi, I'm Jack Speech. The interviews you'll see on this videotape are a project of the Sesquicentennial celebration of First Presbyterian Church in Neenah. They're simply a look at the middle years of the church, the last 60 or 70 years of this church, through the eyes of members. We hope you'll enjoy it, and maybe you'll gain some sense of the kinds of people in this church and the kinds of experiences they've had, and the experiences that have molded them.
When I was a very young girl and lived on the island, it was much too far for me to go by myself. So my mom, with my two brothers, Jack and Harland, in the buggy, would walk down to Forest Avenue and wait with me to Tauber's Meat Market. Then I'd walk across the bridges, and when she saw me turn the corner on Doty to come to knew that I was near the church, then she would go back home, and then she would come back again when I was to be back at Tauber's Meat Market. Sometimes I got a ride home, but not very often.
Well, that was a long walk for a little girl.
Yeah, it was a long walk for a little girl.
There weren't many cars either.
There weren't many cars, no.
Do you remember the holidays, how it was in the church at the holidays?
Oh, wow.
Do you remember some of that?
Yes. My father used to decorate, and
did
he was a flower man. He loved flowers. Well, you knew that, I guess. And they would decorate every Christmas and Easter. They had dozens of, in the old church I'm thinking of. And that was all banked with lilies, and people gave flowers.
And a box of chocolate at Christmas.
Tell me about that.
I had
yes.
to pin that down when they cut it out. Because we had it all the time. We were kids.
All the
but
time we were
again,
growing up.
We're Depression kids, so I
Now,
think
what happened there? Bill Engel
Christmas
told me a
Eve
little
we
bit.
always got a box of candy, and we couldn't wait to go to Sunday school that night and have our program, and then they'd give you the box of candy, and oh boy, we'd
On
rush home.
Christmas Eve,
Yeah.
we would always go and you'd get
That's-
that nice box of chocolate.
That's the only candy we got.
Yeah. Well, you didn't have the
It was
money
for
to buy
folks'
more.
candy, you know. Everybody got a pound box of candy, mixed chocolates. And, just wonderful.
delicious.
The fact that the two big Sunday school rooms on either side had to be opened up, the one always and the other one on special occasions. And I can well remember the rumbling sound of those doors being pulled back, which said to everybody sitting there, this is a banner morning.
Something special.
Yeah, and then also the sound of the folding chairs, the ushers snapping down the folding chairs, which they placed in those rooms, or across the back of the sanctuary.
We were here, I forgot the exact dates, but I did go a few times at the old church. And back then, what I remember, it was very strict in the things we did, the procedure of church, like ushers.
Much more formal?
Formal, yeah. It was a little on that side. Like the ushers had to wear dark suits, shirt and tie. We all, some people maybe didn't realize it, but when we were up in the front, we were all in line towards according to our height, believe it or not. And it was kind of funny once in a while, because if we didn't do it, or somebody didn't have a dark suit on, John would let us know.
The men, of course, were expected to be in full suits, white shirts, ties, maybe vests, and the women, for goodness sakes, always hats. Even high school girls had to were expected to wear hats, gloves, and skirts of a decorous length. That was just it. You just did it.
Two of us took that baptismal fount from the old church over here, and we
In a
just
wagon.
yeah, just in a coaster cart.
That thing must weigh, what, 300 pounds?
Well, it's not that bad, but it's heavy. But first we were going to roll the thing over here. Well, we rolled it once, and some little chips came off, so we decided we better not do that. But there were a lot of people that helped when they were moving from the old church over here.
We'd have baptisms about maybe 3 or 4 times a year, and all the babies born from one baptism to the next, we'd line up in the front in the church. And there's, I think when we had our son baptized, there must have been 10 of us. In fact, Helen and Joe Brown, that's when I first met them, was that their daughter, Jo Ellen, was baptized when our son was baptized. And then there'd be a spell for maybe a month or 2 or 3, and then there'd be another baptism. And
Did John seem to like baptisms? I know that some ministers don't.
No, it wasn't his favorite thing. No, and he never picked the babies up like Richard does now. He just would go down the line, you know, and baptize them all.
The morning, I guess, that the bat decided to buzz the choir.
Oh, is that right? And?
Well, you can just imagine Margaret Fisher sitting there and this bat is going up in front of her.
A new minister was coming, and the ladies in the church, of course, get to do lots of different things besides cook and work in the kitchen and so on. So I must have stuck my hand up, because the next thing I knew, I was made chairman of a committee to clean the manse. And the manse was one big building. You remember? It's out on Winneconne Avenue now, and it's a mess. But it was a great big, and it was on the corner where the church stands now.
I played golf with John quite a bit.
Was he a tough?
Well, he was a competitor.
Yeah.
And he hated to lose, you know, like most golfers. You love to win, and we had a lot of fun. Yeah, a lot of fun. I can remember one time John had a golf date with 2 ministers from off the eastern part of the state near, I think, Sheboygan. And we had a date to play golf at what is this? Oh, God, I can't remember. It's near 2 Rivers.
Okay.
Well, anyway, he said, what should I introduce you as? Well, I said, as long as you're men of the cloth, introduced me as Father Lumpkin. And Father Lumpkin was a blocking back for Georgia Tech, and it just came off the top of my head, and he introduced me as Father Lumpkin. And this went on for about 9 holes, and finally we couldn't hold it back any longer. We had to tell them the truth.
And George Peters was here then, and he was great.
Tell me about him. Nobody has talked about him at all up to this point. We know a little bit about John, but
I don't know what to say about him. He was only here about 3 years, I think. He was just very personable, and he...
Good sermons?
Yeah.
When Bob Rank was here, he would call the mothers and he'd say, I'm having a meeting at church on such and such a day, and you all be there. And most of us were there.
Was he the minister?
Bob Rank? Yeah. Rank. You weren't here in his day. And so we'd all meet beginning of the season, and he'd say, now we're going to have this program, we're going to have Easter Sunday something, and what do you want to be chairman of? Right then and there. And you signed up. You know, you didn't have much choice.
I wanted to mention Mrs. Shattuck's Sunday school class, because she taught Sunday school, I think, for almost 50 years. And we would meet downstairs in what I think is now the nursery, and it was a smaller room then. It was divided, and of course it was Mrs. Shattuck's room. And there were the lovely pictures of Dr. and Mrs. Chapin on the wall, and we met around a round table, and it was really a wonderful group, and I look back on it as being a very good Bible study. She was so well prepared. They said every Sunday she got up at 5 o'clock to make sure she was ready for Sunday school. And then once a year, or twice a year maybe, she would take all of us out on the Pilgrim, the boat, for dinner.
Were you a member of the men's club?
For years, yes.
Do you remember anything about those years?
Nothing in particular, really. No, we had, we always had
But you always
nice,
put a dinner on for the women.
Yeah, we had a dinner for the women, and we had our regular, I don't know, were they monthly meetings, I think.
I don't...
kind of a social thing?
Sort of a social thing. You had a meal, worship service along with it, and sometimes a speaker of some kind or another. And
I felt at home here because when we were in high school, Dr. Courtney had a youth group for senior highs called Kappa Beta, and just loads of the young people from high school came. And even though I didn't belong to this church, I came to that as many of my friends did. And so after we were married, Raymond felt that he wanted to stay here, and so then I came and joined the church.
Well, one thing that I think was so important was those sunrise breakfasts on Easter Sunday.
Tell me about that.
Finn Martin used to come down 6 o'clock or earlier. We had scrambled eggs and sweet rolls and juice, and that happened for
several years.
Oh yeah, quite a few years, and people loved that.
So there was no housing. So we lived in the Quonsets that the city provided for veterans.
Isn't that
half a Quonset.
Half a Quonset.
Half a Quonset. Where were those Quonsets?
Where the high school, where
the baseball.
Shattuck baseball field is.
And then a little later, the Bonin homes came into existence.
Right.
Did they not?
Well, they were there. We couldn't afford.
No, they were being built then.
Yeah, that's right. It was.
They were being built at that time. We thought, gee, $13,000 is a lot of money for a house.
I was not the financial secretary. I was the pastoral secretary, I guess you'd call it, clerical work. Yeah, and there were three professional men at that time. We had Dr. Bouquet, Reverend Gibson, and Jess Waller. Jess was not an ordained minister, but he was a professional. He did the Christian education.
Yes, I was going to say he ran the Sunday school.
Yeah, and then there were two full-time secretaries and one part-time. And our equipment was, by today's standards, really antique. You know, we had a mimeograph, and it was such a dirty machine. Ink, we'd get our fingers full of ink, and we couldn't. It'd take about 3 weeks before it ever washed off. By that time, we'd have to do some more stencils again, so it was a constant battle.
Did you still publish? Did you publish a bell? Or
yes, we
like
did
that?
the bell every week, every
How
Tuesday.
How long has that gone on, the bell?
Oh, that's been going on since I worked here, and I started working here in 1966, yeah.
Dorothy, you got to tell me about these pillows. We've looked at them all here.
How did that start that I wanted to make the pillows? I made first the flower ones, the seasonal ones.
Oh,
that was when I started.
The 4 seasons she went to.
And then I don't care for flowers myself. And I thought, well, what could I do? And then I got to thinking, what about the churches? I wonder if I could. So I asked my teacher, you know Jean Topin at Randalania?
No.
So she taught me one-on-one. I didn't know a thing about needlepoint. And I said, do you think I could learn that? And she said, oh, sure. She said, I'll help you. So every time I got stuck, I'd go up there and she'd show me what stitch to do and everything. And finally, it came to these where she knew the girl that could paint these. Jane Christopherson had died. And so she painted them for me, and then Jean helped me pick out the colors and the stitches.
And when did you do these?
Ooh, you did those quite a while, because that across over there that she did, that she framed, that took her the longest.
Yeah.
That was all needlepoint.
That's
I'll get a picture of that later too.
That is my baby. I was the most thrilled. You know, they had
took it from the chapel.
Take the tapestry down in the chapel, you know. And then I took it home. My living room's long, and we laid it all out. And then Jane came over and painted it for me. And I just couldn't believe it, that it turned out. You know, doing it, you don't believe it's going to turn out that good.
May 11th, 1950. They have just finished building the Fellowship Hall, stage and everything. Dorothea Pickard wanted to dedicate the Fellowship Hall, but there are no stage curtains, no border lights, nothing on the stage spare. So in the works, she had worked down with Dr. Bouquet to get some ordered for the stage to have us do it, erect it, pointing toward the mother-daughter banquet, May 12, 1950, to dedicate the Fellowship Hall on that night with a special event.
The Monday before, 4 days before, I get a call from John Bouquet. He said, we got a problem, Nate. What's the problem? We've ordered a bunch of stage equipment from Minneapolis and it hasn't come. We've got to have it up, Mrs. Pickard says, before Thursday. What can you do for me? I said, would you order it from and so on? So I won't tell all the details, but we got a hold of Minneapolis and they said, well, they didn't let us know when they wanted it. Well, they had it all there, so I hired an Olson transportation truck. We got it here on Tuesday. We also rented a scaffold from Appleton because we had to have a scaffold up on stage to get way up to the top of the ceiling. So what do? I recruited a dozen men or more, most of them Kimberly-Clark engineers. I want to give you the names of these men. Gib Bailey, Paul Schultz-Bowman, Bill Berger, Ray Johnson, Jim Lenz, Dean Martin, Russ Manning, Cy Mickelkavish, Dick Nelson, Harold Pfaff, Wheeler Dunn, Ned Ryder, Bert Spafford, and myself. We came at 4 o'clock on Wednesday afternoon out of work, got to work tirelessly. I could see Ray Johnson way up the top of that scaffold, putting the chains into the ceiling to hold up the border lights. We got it all up. Bill Berger and I spent a whole 2 hours getting this proscenium curtain up. And the cyc in the back was hard because it was heavy, but we got it up. Most of the men worked until midnight. 5 or 6 of us stayed until 3 a.m. While we were there, the wives came and brought coffee and cocoa and things for us to keep our spirits up. But by that time in the morning, it was done. And the house was filled the night of the event from wall to wall. I don't know how many hundred people, mothers and daughters, were there. Dorothea was just elated. Sure. And that was quite a landmark of volunteerism, if I ever knew one. Got back in 1946, and George Peters was the pastor. And he said, you are the Sunday school superintendent. I said, no, wait a minute. Yeah, well, so I was. The primary department was a large room off from this other big room I mentioned. And that's where the little youngsters came, and they had tables that were about maybe 18 inches off the floor. And there was Martha Succi, and she was a wonderful superintendent. She followed Anna Proctor, who taught in that room for 48 years.
Good heavens.
She was Francis Proctor's aunt. He was the choir director and organist, a family, Wilbur-Sparks related, a real nice group. Anyway, so that was the primary department. Martha Succi had about, I think, 70 children, little tots.
The thing that I think of the church is that the people brought us in and got us involved, and it has meant a lot to us ever since.